that car is first time this year I've used the Halloween backgrounds. Here I am in this, I don't know, Gothic Blues Lounge, Mausoleum. I'm not really sure. We're overlooking a cemetery there. And anyways, I digress. And fighting off a thing this weekend. Started hitting me yesterday at work. It was a long 10-hour shift. There we go. Just wanted to make sure we were working. Oh. Okay, so here's what I did here. I got a couple things rocking. It's finally feeling like fall here. It's cold and dreary. So I poured an Imperial Stout. The Muckraker Imperial Stout from Minocqua Brewing Company. I'm not going to read their thingy here because it's my lighting isn't great here and the lettering is small, but they've got a great cause. So if you get a chance, I'm going to put that up there. If you want to magnify it later, you can read that. It is a 9% stout, I do believe. Yep, 9% says right there. Let me show you that can. Then I poured me a couple other things here. I had just a little bit of this Walcott left here, the Rickhouse Reserve. This was a birthday gift from Anna Levi. I've been hanging on to it, but I had just a tiny bit left. And when I say tiny bit, I mean tiny bit. It looks like about half an ounce there. There's an ounce and a half glass, so that might be, I don't know, about 3/4 ounce left in there. I figure I'd polish that off with you with this muckraker and cilantro. Oops. How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday? Ended up with this weekend off, but I worked the next one. So then I relax, put on the mummy jammies, put the Halloween background on. We'll go full on today, man. Uh, uh, this is a nice imperial stout. I mean, gives you those beautiful, big malted barley notes. The roasted barley, I meant to say, roasted barley notes. A lot of big molasses in there. Oh, it's rich and decadent. I'll finish off this last bit of whiskey here. So cilantro. Got a lot of drainage. I'm trying to break that up. I was feeling terrible when I got home from work last night. So I made myself a hot toddy and that helped. And then I had a Manhattan and that worked even better. Had a hot toddy in Manhattan. I felt pretty good. But that's why I didn't do my typical Friday night video because I was tired, man, and I was feeling great. Cheers! Fall weather here. Sure sounds like nice high gravity beers. Sounds good tonight. It does. Yeah, I'm gonna post your comment there, man. We've been kind of unseasonably warm here, but now it's kind of it's been rainy all day, kind of dreary. I figure let's pop an Imperial. Relax, man. Pull your comment back. But I also poured something else. Like I said, I had just a tiny bit of that, so I wanted to finish it up. And I had probably about 2.5 ounces here. It might be close to 3, but didn't seem like enough to keep. I had a little bit of this Rocktown I picked up back in August. Your single barrel cask Arkansas bourbon whiskey at 120. This stuff is gorgeous. I drank it neat. I did a few cocktails with it. Had some on the rocks, but I figured that last bit ought to be drank neat in their own glass there. So probably about a 2.5 to 3 ounce pour there. This stuff is very nice. Bottled, aged, oh, I'm sorry, distilled, aged, and bottled by Rocktown Distillery, Little Rock, Arkansas. They're good, man. They're very good. Uh, I made an early dinner. My wife and I sat down to watch a movie, and at some point, I think we're getting near the end of it. We both sacked out in our chair. Woke up, thought it was morning. What the hell happened? Anyway, so anyways, I lost a whole day, man. Just a nice, beautiful, luxurious bourbon. Cicely is watching. Let's launch it to you, kid. Again, this is another one. It's a big, rich, decadent bourbon. A little bit sweet up front. A lot of barrel in the finish, though. But the reason I wanted to finish it up was one, I was near the end, but I thought it would pair beautifully with this particular imperial stout. Oh man, that is nice. So when I do pairings, I'm not necessarily looking for like flavors. I'm looking for complementary flavors, flavors that'll work well together. You don't want the exact flavors on top of each other. You want flavors that'll work together. I'd say that's one thing I really like about this bourbon, though, is just how easy it is to drink at 120. The flavors, the aromas are awesome, but what I really enjoy, possibly even more than that, is just how luxurious it drinks. The viscosity, the mouthfeel, it just feels, it's just a pleasant whiskey to drink. Uh, I haven't been up to the Kansas City area in a couple years, so we're going to try to revisit them in a couple, 3 weeks here. But there's one distillery that's always eluded me. I planned on going there for the first time in 2019, but things happened. I never got to that one. I got to others, and we've been to Kansas City a couple of times since, and I got to others, but I still never made it to that one. So since I'm only going to have one day, that's the only firm visit to anywhere. If I get to any other places, then that's a bonus. But I really want to get to that one because I've always missed it before. I've hit Tomstown, which I really enjoyed. Further up north in Weston, I hit Holiday a couple years back. And I've also hit Restless and Union Horse. And Lift is another one, but I haven't been looking for that one quite as long. So yeah, the only thing on my list is to just hit Riegers. If I don't get to any place else, that's fine. I'm not even looking for breweries this time, to be honest with you. There's one I may get to, but again, it's just going to depend on the timing. But as we get into fall and winter, I usually tend to think more whiskey than I do beer. Especially the last couple of years when I've really started working on cocktails and developing cocktails for work. I've been drinking more cocktails at home, whereas I used to just drink whiskey neat occasionally on the rocks, but now I'm making cocktails and trying to get clever. Well, not too clever. Almost everything I do uses the Manhattan as a template. You've got those three ingredients, right? You've got your main spirit, you've got your sweetness slash acidity, and in some cases bitter, some not. It kind of depends on what you're going for there. but almost everything I do is kind of a variation on a theme. Some say an old fashioned, but I think it's more apropos to use them to say Manhattan as a template. Hey Vanessa, how are you? I'm going to post your comment there. Vanessa says, hi, Vanessa. anyways, I digress. All right, I'm going to set that down for a minute. I'm going to focus on this beer. It is a 9% Imperial Stout from Minocqua Brewing out of Wisconsin. Let me show you that can again. I'm just using my little snifter here. I don't know how old these glasses are. They're passed down from my mom to me, and I've only got a couple left. But I like using them when I can. There was a time when the glassware was very important to her. And I'm probably the only one of the 5 kids that feels the same way about glassware. Although there's one set that I wish I got because she tried to give me all the glassware, but this one kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I don't know who has it because I don't know that anybody's seen it. It was a Tom and Jerry set with a big kind of bowl, and then had some glasses for eggnog. Tom and Jerry. But I don't know what happened to that set. I'm kind of bummed about that. I was hoping I could get that one. That was such a beautiful set. But mom knew I was more passionate about the glassware than the other siblings. And it's the only thing, I never asked for anything, but it's the only thing that I would have wanted. Better to bourbon barrel. But anyway, but everything about this stout is just gorgeous, man. Gives you all the flavors and aromas that you want from a beautifully done imperial stout. And again, I like Minocqua Brewing because everybody's gone increasingly selfish, self-centered. People don't seem to care about each other like they once did, and I think it's just damn sad. And saying that you care about people has suddenly become a political position, which is incredibly bizarre as well. But this is where we are. Oh, excuse me. I never entertained the notion of going anywhere today because it was going to be raining all day. These kind of days, I just want to sit and relax. Like I said, I'm kind of fighting something here. Is that I didn't start feeling it until early afternoon yesterday, and it just kept getting increasingly worse through the day. I was having some serious drainage that was causing the gag reflex, which was making more issues. I'm trying to work and having to run out every once in a while and hawk up a lung. So hopefully I'll be better come Monday. stay home and relax again. But I mean, as odd as it sounds, I did feel a little better after I had that hot toddy yesterday. That those vapors, I used some cask. I used a little bit of that Walcott that I had earlier. That big cast to oh, kind of broke everything up a whole lot better than a whole lot better than Theraflu. I'll tell you that right now. Just trying to get everything out. Probably have to call in a any any antibiotic prescription tomorrow. Usually hits me right about now, right about the first of fall and or the beginning of fall and the beginning of spring. Usually is when it hits me bad. It just kind of came on. Yeah, I usually have a little warning. I can feel it coming on. This one kind of hit me all at once. But I could feel it grow that morning. It was really about one or so when I was really feeling it, and then by 5 o'clock, I was feeling horrible. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it through the day, but I just kind of fought through it. Oh, such a beautifully done stab. Pour a little more in here. Get some action going. Let's just see that head on there. See how beautiful that beer pours. That nice mocha-like head on there. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm going to set that down for a second. Pick that whiskey back up again. I do like Rock Town. If you get a chance to get to Little Rock, they're definitely a must. Great cocktails on the menu. Great customer service and just amazing products, man. I can't recommend them highly enough. Depending on where you live, you may be able to get them shipped to you. So I would check that as well. If it's not a someplace that you think you'd visit anytime soon, get on their website and see what products are available to ship to you. I know some states don't, and so depending on where you live, but I tell you, man, if you take a chance, you won't be sorry. They're doing some great products. Not only is their whiskey incredible, though, they call them their craft cordials. It is absolutely the best creme de cacao that I've ever bought. I'm telling you. Their elderflower is okay. I believe it's on par with that name. I'm just not a fan of that liqueur per se. I only bought it to help formulate cocktails at home. But their ginger liquor is better than ginger liqueur is better than that, in my opinion, is every bit as let me say that every bit as good as that ginger liqueur brand that everybody knows. And it's certainly better than all the bar brands that you know. But I bought a couple other products, watermelon vodka for my wife, and she seems to like it. So they have a salted vanilla vodka that I kind of bought, thinking it was going to be more of a novelty, but I like using it in different things. It's got a great flavor because many will do a vanilla, some even do a salted caramel, but a salted vanilla. I used in a cocktail last night. I called the Rocktown Quartet, where I used this Rocktown whiskey. I used 1 ounce of that whiskey that I have in this glass here. I used 1 ounce of the salted caramel, 1 ounce of their creme de cacao, 1 ounce of their coffee liqueur, and I'm telling you, wow. In my opinion, their coffee liqueur is as good as any you're gonna find. I think it's better than those big names you know. The only one I think, the only big commercial brand I think would be on par with it, and some I like better just because they know the flavor is the Mr. Blacks. But I got to be honest with you, I prefer the Rocktown coffee. But that's because it's a stronger coffee flavor and not as sweet. So again, it's just going to depend on what you're looking for. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan. For one reason, I've never liked to call myself a reviewer. Because a reviewer is just another word for critic. Reviewers are looking for something to be wrong. I'm more of an appreciator. I'm not looking for anything to be wrong. And when I find stuff wrong, I'm always very disappointed. If you've seen any of the, I've done very few negative videos, and I've done a lot of videos, and I've done very few negative. But if you can see my face in some of the videos that I've done that were negative, I'm always very disappointed. I'm going, oh, man. I don't want to say something bad. There's been several though that I just didn't upload the videos. Okay, we had one brewery in town here. I'm not even going to mention the name because they didn't last very long because they were just so god awful. But I tried them 3 times, 3 different times, hoping for a different result, and I never posted the videos because it just. I honestly I didn't want to be that harsh and I couldn't do a video without being brutally honest. Every time I did the video was God. And then when they didn't like I said they didn't last very long. When they did go out of business, the owner put this very long scathing whatever post on social media saying how he was doing the best beer in town and people in Springfield just don't appreciate good beer. Not thinking that Springfield has supported a lot of great breweries over a period of time. So if his beer was really that good, they'd still be around today. The problem was the beer sucked, the customer service sucked, everything about that place sucked. And that's why they're no longer here. And that's why I'm not going to mention the name of the place. You notice we just spilled beer all down my shirt there? I messed my mouth completely there. Uh, Now my wife has to watch my mummy jammy top again because I'm a slob. Anyways, I don't know how I did that. Actually, I was expecting it to happen. Anyway, I just started drinking, man. I just started. What's interesting about Springfield is we are a little brewery heavy for the size of town we have, but and although I know there's some healthy competition between them, there's also a lot of camaraderie. They all kind of help each other, and I feel like that's because a lot we all have different niches. Some concentrate more on trendy styles, some more on traditional styles, and some more are more about the space and the clientele. They were tailor made for a certain clientele due to the space. I'm not going to go into greater detail about that because then I would give away too much. But I think that's how places survive by not necessarily trying to compete with each other, but by carving out a very specific niche. The brewery that I work for, I feel like that's what they've done is they've carved out a very specific niche. Originally, they were known for their incredible IPAs. One in particular that's probably, well, in my opinion, it's the best hazy IPA in town. But I do work there. There's the caveat there. I do work there, but hell, I said it was the best IPA in town before I started working there. But anyway, but mostly they've carved out a niche of traditional beer styles, mostly German, but very traditional styles. Where a lot of places in town will do a Hefeweizen, but it's always this kind of hef or that kind of hef. It's never just a hef, or they'll do this kind of saison or that kind of saison, but never just a saison. And they've carved out a niche for just making classic styles right to style. Now the brewer is incredible. One of the owners is the head brewer there, and he's a great brewer. But what he's amazing at is listening to what his clientele wants. And he'll take some liberties with certain styles, the IPAs, for instance. Well, we have a triptych series where it allows him to get crazy. But the traditional styles he doesn't get crazy with. He makes them right to style. And I feel like very few places are doing that anymore. Very few places are just making beer. Just, oh, excuse me, as it was meant to be. Or as I like to mess with one of my fellow coworkers, beer flavored beer. You don't like beer flavored beer, do you? He said this down. Oh. So a lot of big vanilla here. I mentioned molasses earlier, I believe. Starts out very sweet up front. You're going to get some nice fruit notes in the middle. What you get is really up to you, depending on your taste buds. Like I've said ad nauseum at this point, uh, you're not going to taste things you don't know. So you may get date and or fig. You're probably going to get raisin. That's usually a flavor everybody knows. But dark cherry is definitely a possibility as well. Dark overripe plum. And then big, beautiful. Wow. Just wow. Barrel notes in the finish that are just gorgeous. A lot of mixed spice. You might find, again, this is going to depend on what you know, what you taste. Yeah, again, you're not going to taste things you don't know. So for me, I use a lot of spices, so I tend to pick out things that others don't. I don't eat a lot of dark fruit, so others are going to feel that better than I will. But for me, I definitely get some allspice, some cinnamon, some ginger, some cardamom. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Uh, anyways, anyways, I digress. Yeah, I was feeling so rough yesterday when I got off work. I knew that I had no intention of doing a video. We ate and then relaxed, and then I made myself that I tell you I talked about. And then in Manhattan, watched a couple TV shows, a movie, stayed up way later than we should have. But I was starting to feel a little better, and it's kind of coming and going today too. Because every once in a while, that I can feel that swelling up right here, so I may have to call the doctor on or message the doctor. Or no, let me take that. Have my wife, have my have my personal assistant message the doctor. I tell folks she's the management, I'm the talent. She's in charge. I just do it up till uh, he will usually just call in a antibiotic prescription without having me come in. Although last time I think he had me take a COVID test and I came out negative. Because I know it's not COVID. I mean, I've dealt with this my entire life, so I know the signs of sinusitis when it's coming on. But I usually have more warning. I usually kind of feel, oh, okay, it's coming on. Go ahead, call it in. This time it just kind of hit me. Oh, there it is. Just kind of came on hard and fast, more so than usual. Right. Throw my hand on my beer here. Quite get the rest of it in there. So a beer like this, I'm not worried about staying cold, right? You don't need a beer like this ice cold. I did have it in the fridge, but as it's warmed up, it's really produced some other flavors and aromas. A beer like this is really best at about 55 to 60. Some might even say 60 to 65, but for me, 55 to 60. But I don't like to use the term room temp as some do. Is it good at room temp? Now, the room temp is kind of a misnomer. Nothing is good at room temp. When people typically say room temp, what they mean is cellar temp. Because you're talking about European beers, right? Typically, they drink at cellar temp. United Kingdom, Germany, they drink at, they say room temp, but it's really cellar temp, which is anywhere between 50 to 65 typically. Or giving a little leeway, let's say 45 to 65. But that's not the same as room temp now, is it? Because I'm guessing room temp in Germany is different than, say, room temp in Phoenix. Because nothing is good at 85 degrees. Nothing, absolutely nothing tastes good at 85 degrees. So, but that's why I've always hated it. Is it good at room temp? No, nothing is good at room temp. I hate that phrase room temp because it's a misnomer. It's cellar temp. It's cellar temp. Nothing is good at room temp. Room temperature in here right now is 70 degrees. Nothing ever should be. You're not going to want anything at fucking 70. I'm telling you that right now. 55 to 60 is optimal. That's why you usually want to start with it colder and let it warm up as she goes. I always cringe when someone says, "You drink a room temp?" No, I don't drink a goddamn thing at room temp. Room temp at my house right now is 70 degrees. No, nothing as good as 70 degrees. Well, my whiskey. But if my whiskey's okay. Whiskey's good right there, I guess. I guess I drink the whiskey at room temp. But if I'm drinking something cold, no. 55 to 60. If I'm drinking something hot, no. 85 degrees is too cold. So nothing is ever good at room temp. I guess the caveat there is whiskey neat. Whiskey neat's always good at room temp. So there's my exception to the rule right there. I just had to think it through. I just had to think it all the way through, man. That's all. To make enough room to get the rest of that in there, I'm going to finish up my whiskey here. So again, I hope everybody's having a good Saturday night. I don't know if I'll be back later for a late night or not. It's hard to tell. Might nap again. I don't know what's going on. We're both sitting there watching the movie. Next second, we're both waking up going, "What the fuck just happened?" Somebody drugged my food, man. I felt like James Bond and Dr. No. He's just waking up going, "What the hell?" At one minute I was having some coffee. The next minute I'm waking up. The fuck you say? And then I'm having dinner with some crazy ass guy who's trying to take over the world. Anyway, I digress. Ah, fuck nuggets and gravy. That is nice. That is very nice. I've mentioned this before, and I hate to, as my dad would say, beat a dead horse. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a different whiskey drinker, I guess. Most will say every time I talk whiskey with a friend, they say, "Well, what's your go-to?" I don't have a go-to. I don't have that one whiskey that I'm always buying that I always have on hand. I try to buy as much when I go somewhere to last me to the next time I can go somewhere else. Do I miss having certain whiskeys? Yeah, because I have a friend say, "Yeah, but I always if I buy something, I really like it, and I can't get it again, then that bothers me." And I guess I understand that, but I guess also that's what I look forward to, right? There's one particular distillery in Indianapolis Four Fingers that had such amazing products. And I'm bummed that I can't get them, but I have the memory of those. Then I know if I ever get back to that area, those whiskeys I'm buying. Again, and then in Columbus, I mean, there's Watershed, Echo, a lot of places that I will definitely want to get back to, but I don't need a go to. I'm always finding my own go to. I guess it's I guess maybe a better way to say it. I always have a go to of the moment, right? Of that particular moment in time. Right now in my bar cart, I only have I've got some opened anyway. I have uh, some Buffalo Trace, and that was a birthday bottle of whiskey. Other than that, oh, and also, I guess I forgot about this one too. I have some Claremont Steep American Single Malt, but those are the only mainstream whiskeys I have at the moment. Because I try to buy small. Well, what I always find interesting is that craft beer drinkers that cross over to whiskey always think small when buying craft beer, but they don't think the same about whiskey, and I can't figure that out. I intentionally don't go to the big box stores and buy stuff on sale. I intentionally don't go. Not that I don't have. No, listen, I love a sale price, and I do upon occasion. But lately, especially the last couple of years, I've been specifically not going because I don't want those big name brands. I want as much small distillery product on my bar card as I can. I mean, I want Rocktown. I want Watershed, Four Fingers, Echo. I want these small distillery products. A Holiday. I mean, I want to. These are the products I want to showcase. I don't need to talk about other whiskeys of the names everybody knows. I'm always looking for that next one that I really love that maybe I'll never get again. Right? Yeah. The one they got away, right? Four Finger I mentioned in Indianapolis. Bought a cask rye that, yeah, I would wish I could get that one again. I wish I could buy that one at least once a month if I was being honest. But to not buy it thinking, oh, well, it's never going to be able to be a go-to, I just that mentality doesn't make sense to me either. I always want to buy stuff that I will probably never be able to have again. Those are the whiskeys I'm looking for. Which is what I said in an early video. That's kind of my new thing right now. Is I've decided I'm not going to go to the liquor store. I'm not going to buy stuff unless I absolutely have to. If there's certain things I absolutely need for one reason or other, I will. But for the most part, I want to go anytime I get a chance to go anywhere, I will buy products that I probably can't get here. But I also have been looking online and having stuff and ordering stuff and having it shipped to me, stuff that I can't get here. And I've decided I'd rather do that than go to a liquor store and buy the names everybody else knows. I want to be different. I want to try different product. I don't ever want to have a go-to. I'm kind of the opposite of that. What's your go-to? Nah, I don't want to go to. I'm looking for what's next. From my way of thinking, a go-to is looking backwards. I always want to be looking forward. I want to find something else. Having said that, if I get back to Columbus, yeah, I will definitely buy all those products that I mentioned again. If I get back to Indianapolis, yeah. If I ever get back to Four Finger again, I won't buy just two bottles like I did last time. I'll buy as many as I can possibly afford because I know their stuff is just that good. But I don't regret not having that go to here that so many people seem to need. I don't want that one brand. I want a whole bunch of brands. I want to support those small breweries, those small distilleries, those craft distilleries that are doing such amazing products and aren't getting credit for it. Because there's always been a lot of talk about the breweries, those big breweries, squashing those small breweries when they get large enough. But there's not enough talk about how the big distilleries do the same thing. Those little distilleries have an issue. If they start to get too big, then they become a problem. They get on the big guy's radar. So that's the thing. You want to get big enough, but if you get too big, you get noticed. Like there was an issue with that with banks a while back. That big enough to be bought. You get big enough to be bought. Anyways, I digress. Wrap it up, Tom. I'm talking for 40 fucking minutes, man. Nobody cares anymore, Tom. Tom, the whiskey whisperer, whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and let me show you this bottle one last time. Rocktown single barrel cast strength Arkansas bourbon whiskey. This stuff is amazing. As you can see, I mean, if you've been watching me drink this, it is remarkably approachable at that 120. I do like to tell folks, I do like to put a disclaimer up there. I have Irish ancestry, so that might be part of it. I'm not impervious to the effects of alcohol, but I think I'm impervious to the burn. Unless it's cheap alcohol, then I will feel that burn. But if you got a good product, I don't feel a burn at all with this. Even at 120, no burn whatsoever. So one more time, a feeling. Tom, the whiskey whisperer, whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor wisdom, and muckraker from Minocqua Brewing out of Wisconsin. I'm also Tom. I have a couple personalities going on up there. I'm the beer whisperer, beer evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor wisdom, and oh man, it's absolutely gorgeous. All right, good guys. Lunch. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.